Hello my lovely floss tube friends, welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all and a special warm thank you to the extra 147 new subscribers. Thank you so much for hitting the subscribe button, and I hope you enjoy the content on this channel. What to tell you people, today is the Sunday the 30th of July, so I'm on time, bang on for once in my life. And this July has been strange, very strange. Now I've not got tons and tons of stuff to show you. You'll sit there and go, phew, thank God for that. I haven't got a lot to show you, but what I do have for you, I have a FFO. I know, yahoo! I have a finish, which I didn't expect, I'll be honest. I didn't expect to finish. I have a new start, and then there was one whip that I've worked on throughout the course of the month. It's just one whip. So without further ado, shall we crack on and let me show you what I have been doing. So for all of you that watched my June update, you will know that I was going on a rather unusual, let's say, monogamous stitching mission. It wasn't something I'd decided to do, and it wasn't even something that I'd thought, oh, let's try that. It was more a case of it just sort of happened. I got so engrossed in what I was stitching that I didn't want to put it down, and my way of sort of describing it was, it's a bit like scratching an itch, that because it kept itching at me, I felt that I needed to keep scratching it. And I honestly thought that as the month went on, that would wane away, and at some point I would be like, no, I'm bored of this now, move it to one side and pick up something else. That didn't happen. The itch kept itching, so I kept scratching. Thankfully I did, because I have achieved an FO, and I think this is like record timing. So you will all know that this is the chart that I was stitching. It is the Shepherd's Bush Robert stocking. I thoroughly enjoyed working on this, and like I say, it is record timing stitching, and I got an FO on it. So let me show it to you first, up in the air so that you can see it. So here it is in all its glory. Absolutely love it. Look at that. That is how can you not like that? It has been such a joy to stitch on. So where did we get to on this one? So this one got stitched on in July. It got 12 days in July, and although it got 12 days, but there was a few gaps, purely because I run out of this I was under the assumption that it was one skein of each, so I only got one skein of each of the colours. This one, I run out of the dark navy, and I also, as an after event, although I'd ordered the navy, I didn't realise then that I needed some more green, so I had another little wait for that. But in total, it got 12 days worth of stitching. I absolutely love. Would you look at him? He is so gorgeous. So gorgeous. How can you not? So I stitched it in the 12 days, and then it took me one evening then to put the ribbons and the charms on. So there's all the charms came in a charm pack with the chart, with the beads. So I sat and sewed those on. There's a little button here that you sew on for his little foot, for his boot. Again, more charms that came in the charm pack, and again here's some bells, which it does actually jingle when you move it around. Some little heart buttons, and then another bead up here that he uses as his bobble on his hat. There's some beads in these sections here, some stars on the ribbon. So the only thing that I had to actually source was this ribbon, which I purchased separately, and then I did the ribbon. But yeah, one evening to put all the embellishments on and do all the embellishments. So I finished all of the embellishments on the 27th of July. This took me a total of 24 days to stitch. Go me! I know. I'm like, how did that even happen? And when I'm saying 24 days of stitching, it's not 24. It's not like 4 days. I mean, imagine if I'd have had hours of stitching time. I could have had it done in a jiffy, couldn't I? But yeah, where am I? There I am. 24 days. I'm trying to tip it the right way. 24 days to have an FO. I am over the moon. Absolutely over the moon with this. I loved it. Like I said, it was pretty much monogamous stitching because I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to put it down. The chart itself, on the chart, let me do this overhead, it'll be easier. The chart itself, it's a great chart, but when you're following the instructions, although it gave me the embellishments as far as, you know, how they did it, it didn't tell me what embellishments needed to go where. Thankfully, the charm pack that I got as part of my kit, inside the charm pack, it tells you all the embellishments that you needed and where they placed them. It also told me what colour thread that I needed to actually attach them all. So yeah, I was, so happy. The only thing that didn't come in the pack, in the embellishment pack, was the ribbon. So I had to source the ribbon myself, which was a little bit harder than I thought it would be, actually. I didn't think it would be this hard to find a ribbon that's this thin. So I've got some extra ribbon now, so at least I've got some more if I need it. And literally, the ribbon, I would say, was for me the trickiest. It was the trickiest part. So on the ribbon here, I did some twisting and then I had to tack it. And although you'd think ribbon is easy to sort of lay and then sew on, it was actually a lot harder than I thought. So although the ribbon hasn't come out quite as nicely as I would have liked, I think it could have been a little bit more curly maybe, but I'm more than happy with how it turned out. And I just tacked it in places to try and keep it in situ. I just thought that was the better option. So yeah, absolutely love. I had an absolute blast working on this. And I'll be honest, I was actually a little deflated when I'd finished it because I was like, I felt like I wanted to stitch more. My favourite parts have to be the reindeers on this. I love the little reindeers. They are just too cute with their little saddles and, you know, their ribbons. And yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get myself another one. I definitely need another one that I can stitch because this was an absolute joy to stitch on. Now all I need to do is get this passed over to a very good friend of mine who has kindly agreed to finish it as a stocking. I found out from my boss that actually the timeline is looking a little shorter than I would have liked. I think the original plan was that he was one of his last days in the office, I think, was some point in November. It's now looking like one of his last days is going to be sort of around the very early part of October, which is a bit concerning because I haven't had a chance to speak to the person in question that has kindly agreed to turn it into a stocking as to whether that timeline is workable. So yeah, I'm going to need to reach out to her and find out how we do this. So my plan was that I was going to meet up with her. We would maybe do a few hours, go off to a fabric store and go and pick the finishing fabric and maybe sit and have lunch and a cup of coffee. But due to some life issues, I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out. So again, that's more towards the end of the video when I'll go through sort of the life update and you'll see what I mean. So that was my FO. You will also know from my last video that I had finished my summer ABC Littlehouse Needleworks, and me and my wisdom, although I wanted to get it FFO'd, I went and got the fabric and then actually realised that I didn't have the mat board size that I needed to put my design on. So I had to order that. So there was a bit of a delay on getting this finished, but I did finish it. I thank you all so much for all the wonderful comments that I got on that video about whether I should go with the red or whether I should go with the green background. It was a hard call, and trust me, when I was getting all the messages coming in from you, some of you were saying the red, some of you were saying the green, and I was like, maybe I should do a poll and I should poll it. But in all fairness, I think I wouldn't say it was a clear winner. The green got the most votes because everyone sort of was saying that although the red worked and it popped, the general consensus was that the red looked very Christmassy and the green looked much more summery. So I took all your advice and here it is. So we went with the green. I sort of agreed that the green, I liked the red, but it did make it look a little Christmassy. It made it look like it should have had snowflakes and stuff on it. So yeah. So, and the way that I did this, I mean, honestly, super easy. It needs another set of magnets on it. Is literally, I just glued a magnet at the top, a magnet at the bottom. I'm going to glue another one sort of where the handle is. It's not, you know, it's not done, probably finished the way that most people would finish it, but for me, that's perfect. And now I'm in a position that I can switch this out for another one as and when I get it done, because yeah, it took way longer than it should have took to get this one done. So who knows how long it's going to take me to get round to stitching another one and actually get it complete. I did put some flowers on the top. It does look a bit sparse. So I found some flowers that I thought complemented the colours. All I need to do now is get some greenery, like some green stuff to fill the gaps with, because for me that just looks, it looks a bit sparse. Doesn't look like it's finished. I like the fact that it's a cupboard. Ignore the stems because I haven't cut those off. What I'm going to do is once I've got the greenery in there, I'm going to cut the stems off and actually sort of like put it on something that again I can take off, and then I can put a different display on there. But yeah, that's just to make it look the way it was supposed to. But this, like I said, is a toilet cupboard, but it's not going in the bathroom. This is actually sitting in my living room in front of a mirror. So I absolutely love it, and I love how it came out. Yeah, super happy with how it came out. Over the moon. I've actually got something that is in my living room that isn't on a wall that is actually stitched. So I'm starting on getting some different types of finishes in my house now, so that I can actually decorate my house rather than just have things up on the wall. So that is the FFO. That was completed. Sorry, I've got my notes over to the left here. That was completed. That was FFO'd on the 8th of June. And like I say, although it's FFO'd, it is finished. There's a bit more greenery, and I want to sort of make it so that the flowers can just be pulled off as a little set and changed out as and when I have some other stitching to put on there to switch out. So yeah, absolutely happy with that. That didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take. I'll be honest with you. It was really quick to put that together. So, like I said, once I'd finished my stocking, I was sort of not disappointed, but I was a little deflated. So I decided that I would throw caution to the wind and start something new. Now, you know that I was saying that in July I wanted to do as much of my Christmas stitching as I could, because they're smalls, you can go outside with them, you can stitch outside on the train. Yeah, well, the best laid plans are terrible. So I picked up this one, which is the second day of Christmas Samplers and Trees by Hello Liz Matthews. I'm doing this one, like the triangle, like this one, because I wanted to do it as a Christmas gift. Now, I did say when I was looking at this chart that I wasn't sure how much stitching was involved in it. and whether it was achievable. Now, I was right to think that, because there's a lot more stitching in it than I realised. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot more stitching than I realised. I decided to go with, what did I stitch this on? I am stitching this on Fibre on a Whim, 36 count, in the colourway Cream and Sugar. And this is where I got to. Now, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot of stitching in there on a 36 count. And I was like, wow, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do on this, because that's a lot of stitching. So I may end up stitching this and keeping it for myself, but whether I'm going to do too much more on this in the here and now, I do not know, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, you know, we're already at the end of July. July, like I say, did not go quite as according to plan. So I'm like, well, if I haven't, other than a stocking, I haven't actually done any of my Christmassy types finishes. So like the little crackers that I wanted to do, the little jumper things that I wanted to do, or the little sledges that I wanted to do, because they're the small little things that I can gift for Christmas for people at work. This, on the other hand, I think is going to take me a little longer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I really focused on it, it might be a bit easier. I'm not sure whether this would be a potentially good train project, purely because the holes on this are very small. Because it's a 36 count and it's a linen, it's a little harder to see. So because of that, I'm sort of thinking that I'm not sure whether I would like to try and stitch this on a train. But yeah, I might try. I might need sort of like my readers on to do it. But in all fairness, I think for now I'm going to focus on the other things. And if I've then got time to come back and finish this, then I will. But that's not to say that it won't get a bit of love and it won't get a bit of stitching, because it probably will. I haven't actually got all of the thread colours for this yet, and that's the other reason that sort of I've only got to that far, because I just sort of stitched the bits of the colours that I had. But it got me back into the flow, because like I say, I was a little bit on a low after finishing the stocking. So I stitched on that. The only other thing that I've stitched on this month, I know, these are like the shortest videos in the world. They're not though, because I end up waffling about other stuff. So the next project that I worked on was my Bella Filipina Maiden of Tubbataha. I think that's what we're going to call her. Here she is. And you will know that the last time you saw this one, I had been at the Bella Filipina retreat, and me and my friend Susie ended up at that retreat frogging out all the bits that I'd done wrong. And the only thing that I'd managed to do on it was basically get it back to where it was before I'd messed it up. So I decided that I would pull it back out and give it some love, because I needed something that didn't have stitching that required too much taxing of one's brain. Unfortunately, I was really unlucky and got myself a kidney infection. But then not only did I get a kidney infection and it floored me, but then I had 2 allergic reactions to the antibiotics that they put me on. So I wasn't really wanting anything that was particularly hard, and I wanted stuff where I could just do a bit, stop a bit, sit back for a bit, sleep for a bit, get up, stitch a bit, watch a bit of TV, stitch a bit more. It was one of those projects, which a lot of my projects are not the sort of projects that work for that sort of thing. So I decided I would pull this one out because it had a bit more blocky type stitching, and because I was really gagging to get back to something other than Christmassy. There was like, I just needed a little something different. So this one got stitched from the 19th to the 30th of July. So it's going to get a bit more love today. That's my plan for after this video, is to sit on the sofa and just sit and do some stitching. Because although I've done some stitching, It's been like half an hour here, half an hour there. I've not had like my usual Sunday 4 hours worth of just sitting there doing stitching all by myself. Today, fingers crossed, if all goes according to plan, that is the plan. We have a plan. So this one is being stitched on a 28 count even weave by Pole Stitches in the colourway Atlantis. Believe it or not, I didn't realise this until I just checked before I started this video. This was started on the 16th of July 2022. I know. I had no idea that it was like a year old already. How time flies. How time flies. And this is where I've got to. And I am, yeah, over the moon. Over the moon. So basically most of what I've been stitching, so I did some more here, finished here, and then I've gone over to this side and I've completed all this side and all of this. Last night I was working on this little section here where I was just sort of doing some of the coral, and then I just decided, because I was debating last night, should I stop now and switch out to a new project? And I was like, do you know what? No, because I would like to sort of spend another day just maybe bringing this down, bringing the fin down, because the fin goes down. Where is it? There. Here we go. So the fin goes down a bit more. So I was thinking if I can get some more done on the fin. I have no idea why I've got this gap here. Where is it? Here. I'm not quite sure why there's a gap there. There must be a reason. I'll need to check on the page previous on this side. But yeah, the plan is I want to just bring this side down a little bit more and get a bit more block stitching done. So more than happy with how that's coming out. I'm very happy with that. The only thing that I was thinking, I'll tell you because I was thinking about it. I was thinking that maybe I could use this on a live stream and possibly do a live stream this weekend, but it's not gone according to plan. I ended up with family over for pretty much most of the afternoon yesterday. I done my housework yesterday morning. This video, although I've been up since the crack of dawn, has took me, well, we're at 11 o'clock in the morning now. So this video has took me way longer because every time I went to do it, you know, the girls wanted to go out for a wee or something happened. So I'm not getting this recorded as early as I would have liked. I didn't want to do it too early, so as I didn't wake the neighbours up. But yeah, the plan was that I was thinking, well, if I can do a little bit of outline stitching this afternoon, that I could go on a live stream and just do some filling in and chat with you all. But I don't see that happening now, not with the fact that it's nearly 12 o'clock now. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just spend a bit of time whilst I'm sitting here stitching this afternoon and get some extra stitches in, and then I will put this one away and pull something else out. But yeah, absolutely loving stitching on this one. Like I say, this one has had 10 days worth of stitching, but when I say it's 10 days, it's not. It's 10 half hours, 10 minutes, whatever I was feeling like, because I haven't been at my best, let's say, over the last month. What else to tell you? Another thing that blew me away, people. It blew me away. There was a lovely person that reached out to me and asked me whether, because there was a Mirabilia chart, it was an out of print chart that I absolutely loved. But although I loved it, I'm like, would I pay that sort of money for that out of print chart? Because it was everywhere I looked, it was a lot of money. And then by the time I was thinking, oh, go on, just do it because you know you want the chart. By the time I actually did look at seeing whether I could bid or pay for a chart that was out of print, I couldn't find the out of print chart anywhere available to even purchase. So yeah, and I think I shared that on one of my floss tube videos. Well, a lovely floss tube viewer. Now I don't know if I'm saying the name right. I don't know if it's Johnny or Joni. Jonnie. I think it's Joni. Joni reached out to me and said about this out of print. And I was like, well, look, how much do you want for it? You know, I don't want you to just send it to me. They're like, well, no. And then it was like, well, given that there was an issue with the post, it was like, maybe we won't. So nothing happened. And we sort of said, well, you know, we'll wait for things to see how things pan out. And then all of a sudden, this turned up in the post. I know, people. I was blown away. It's called Touching the Autumn Skies by Nora Corbett. It's a memorabilia design. It isn't out of print. And Joni has kindly given me this random act of kindness, which I said was like, you can't just send it to me. You know, that you can't, because it's an out of print. They're going for an absolute fortune. But yeah, she wouldn't. I don't. You know, when it's like when someone, you sort of say, well, you know, I was sitting there thinking, well, you know, if you won't take, you know, if you won't let me buy it off you, and then you ship it to me, I'm sort of sitting here thinking, oh, it feels wrong to accept something that is, when I see how much this chart is actually trying to be sold for, it's frightening. It's frightening. Would I pay the sort of money that it's going for? I think sometimes if I'm in the right frame of mind, I'll be like, do you know what? Sod it. I'm just gonna buy it. I'll treat myself. But in all fairness, under normal circumstances, I would look at a chart and be like, there is a point that I can't justify the cost just for a chart. But the fact that she is like, I'm saying she, it is Joni, isn't it? It is Joni. I'm making the assumption that it's a girl. I could be wrong, could be a boy, but I'm pretty sure she's a lady. She obviously had this chart along with a few others. She did offer me some of the other ones, of which I said to her, although they're lovely, I don't think I would stitch on those, but this one I will. I most definitely will. I need to get one of my other ladies finished first, but yeah, I love this one, and I've loved this one ever since I first saw it stitched up. So Joni, thank you so much. You are too kind. That is like the most generous gift ever, and I do thank you from the bottom of my heart, and it will not go to waste. I as soon as I have another lady or two done, this will be next up, because I love this chart. Absolutely love it. And the fact that it's an out of print chart, yeah, it's gorgeous. So thank you so much. So I got that. I was very blown away. It's a very big gift, and I do really appreciate it. And to be honest, anyone that has done a random act of kindness for me, I am truly thankful for you all, for all the lovely little bits and pieces that you send me, and the random acts of kindness, because yeah, sometimes you can't express it on a video. There's no way to sort of express sort of how thankful and, you know, how warm and fuzzy it makes you feel, without sort of making it sound like, oh, well, thanks for making me warm and fuzzy, because it's a lot more than that. And I really do thank you all of those people that have sent me lovely gifts and lovely messages, you know, when times have been hard. You know, it really does mean a lot to me. And this community, yeah, the community are like the best thing ever. You know, there truly are wonderful people in our community, which I don't think you could say that for every type of community, but in this one, I have been privileged. I have been privileged to be gifted with great floss tube friends and great retreat friends, and just great people that share the love of cross stitch and all things needles and threads. But thank you so much. Yeah. Cannot say enough there. Cannot say enough. God, look at me. I'm like an emotional mess. What else to tell you? Next up, because I wasn't really feeling well enough to do a lot of stitching, and certainly not pull out any of my actual projects that I've got stuff done on, I decided that, because you all know that I said I wanted to continue the theme of Christmas stitching for like my commutes and for summer stitching, I did say that I wanted to get a wiggle on my Noel on Rouge, Christmas in red and Christmas in blue. This is the jumpers by Leela Studios. So I got the charts and I'd done a little bit of Googling and a bit of purchasing. So I got myself some 40 count light mocha Newcastle from Patchwork Rabbit. Was it Patchwork Rabbit? I think it was Patchwork Rabbit. So that's the colour that I'm going to stitch it on, and I am doing it on a 40 count. And then I went to Arts and Design here in the UK and ordered all the threads, because at first I was thinking, whilst I was unwell, that it would be good to start one of these instead of starting the second day of Christmas. But actually, when I went to look, I didn't either have fabric that I had enough of that I could get for like all 8 of them. And also when I started looking for the threads, I couldn't find all the threads. So I was just like, just order it all, Teresa. So I went on a bit of a shopping mission because that was about the best my brain could cope with. And also whilst I was there, I was looking through, because I was thinking, well, now's the right time to be thinking about starting my Victoria Samplers crackers. I did do a few of these previously. I'll put pictures in here where I've got them. Pretty sure that you know the ones that I'm talking about. And when I first stitched these, I got the Christmas crackers and I got the thread pack that goes with it. Here's the Christmas crackers. And I think the ones that I previously did, I did the Angel one and I did the Father Christmas one. And I did those as a gift. Now, the same people that had those two also would like some more crackers. But when I first stitched this and I worked from the thread pack, there was 2 bundles, like 2 thread packs with bundles in them. And I tried to separate them in their bundles on a thread card. So there's like bundle 1 here and bundle 2. And then I'm not quite sure what this bundle was, but it was part of it. Now, I got the bundle thing, but it's very, very difficult to be able to tell on the bundle pack what thread was what for what I needed. And on the description, it's just got, so there was a bundle A, bundle B, bundle C, bundle D. So the bundle D basically is all the beads. And everything else is bundle A, B, C, and D. Yeah, let me share it with you. It's easier. So as you can see, there is an array of different threads on there. And I couldn't tell from this which bundle was what anymore, because I'd already used some of bundle A and B. I don't think I'd used bundle C, but I think I'd used bundle A and B for the 2 crackers. So I was like, you know what? The likelihoods of me stitching more of these are high. Very high. I thoroughly enjoyed them. They're super, super small. They were easy to put together. And although they're great as presents and gifts, I would like to actually have some for myself for Christmas time. Not that I'm going to get round to mine straight away, but it would be nice to get them done in later years, let's say. So I decided that the only way that I was going to be able to do this and actually not have to try and sift through these and play a guessing game as to what thread is what was to go and order the threads myself. But that said, there is a lot of threads on here that I was like, I don't know if I want to necessarily do the whole lot in the silks. So one of the threads that it predominantly calls for is the Krynic Mori. Basically, there are DMC equivalents for some of those threads. So where there are DMC equivalents, I've decided I'm going to do the DMCs. You can see I've marked it on here. She says, I've marked it on here, the DMC colours. But all of the other threads that are listed, I went on a purchasing spree, which you would think would be pretty easy. Do you know what? It was so hard to find some of these threads. So hard. Because they're just not available. So I managed to get my hands on the Gloriana Forest. There it is. And I also managed to get my hands on Holiday, which is a Karen water lily, water flower. Yeah, water flower thread. Love that. Look at that colour. So I had to get one lot from one place, and then I managed to find, she says, some of the needlepoint silks and pearl cottons. I didn't even realise there was pearl cottons in there. But I also had to get, now what is this one called? This is Soiree Pearl Silk Medium Twist in Cream. I don't know if you can see it. You can't. It is like the finest twisted cotton ever. So I got myself a little spool of that. I got some pearl cottons there. I did get, what were these? I did get one of the silks in the white. And then I got some more of the specialty threads. So needlepoint, so an MPI, and then a dinky dye. So now there is absolutely nothing stopping me from starting the Christmas crackers, because other than the DMC colours, I should have all the colours for all the different crackers. As far as the beads, so it calls for micro mini round beads. I have lots of little seed beads because I used to do beading before I did stitching. So where need be, I can always either purchase from some of my previously used suppliers, or potentially get some stuff from Stash and use those. But I just found, looking through this, it was impossible for me to tell what bundle related to what. I mean, I'm sure I've left them in bundles, but then to sit and sift through them, I was struggling to work out what bundle was A, B, C, and D. So, yeah, I decided that, like I say, I intend to stitch more of these, and I think the bundles only come with enough to do one set of crackers, possibly two. I wanted to make sure that I would have the threads that I need to be able to stitch up more of these crackers. So there you go. That is pretty much it, people. That's the grand sum total of my July update as far as my stitching is concerned. If you are one of those people that, you know, you're only here for the stitching, which is totally fine, I get it. There's a lot of floss tube videos out there to be watching, and sometimes you can't keep up. You just need to get to the nitty gritties. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming and hanging out on my video, and listening to me waffling about what's been going on in my world. For those of you that wanted a bit more, she says, if I don't drop everything all over the floor, on the life update and plans. Let me move my... So plans. So Whip Go. Now, we already discussed Whip Go last month, and although I'm not doing Whip Go currently, I mean, I'm not doing it. So basically anything that I don't get stitched in, I can't remember, May, June, July and August, I will make up for in September, October, November and December. That's the plan. I do have a plan. In the winter, I stitch more, and I stitch more on my full coverages because it's too cold to be outside. So I can make up the time there. These months are the months where I want to stitch on Christmas things. I want to stitch on smalls. I want to be outside, and we're spending more time with our families and doing more sort of social things in the summer months. So therefore it limits the amount of time I have on my stitching. So because of that, I've already sort of said that my full coverage Whip Go, basically I'm just clocking and marking what is called, and I will make sure that I get those done in the third quarter of the year to get them completed. On the actual main Whip Go board of mine, which consists of everything that is not full coverage, anything that I haven't already stitched, that isn't Christmassy, or it just isn't falling into place, again, I will pick that up later in the year. But in August, so for August Whip Go, the numbers that got called was number 18 and number 24. Thankfully for me, the two numbers that are on the Whip Go board for this month is 5 days on a fancy lady and 5 days on Christmas. So the Christmas one will not be a problem because that was part of my plan anyway. And the fancy lady, that's fine because I can either pull out my Tubbataha or I can pull out my my other Bella Filipina. I've got quite a few, haven't I? I've got quite a few ladies to pick from. So because I've got so many to pick from, I'm pretty sure that I can find 5 days to sort of sit and stitch something that would cover the fancy lady. So it's not that I'm not doing Whip Go, I'm just basically doing it at my leisure. But all the full coverages basically are on hold, and they will be on hold until either one day I just go, do you know what, I really fancy a full coverage fix, or the weather cools off and, you know, it's miserable outside, and then my full coverages will come back out. What else to tell you? August. So August is going to be a bit of an unknown. Although everyone at work is going on leave, so they're all going on like a 3-week, 4-week holiday. So the whole of August, there's going to be no one for me to really look after. But I do have a lot of stuff that I've basically not got to because it's been so busy with work. That August is going to be a great time for me to basically get all my calendars sorted out and get everything as it needs to be for the third quarter. So needless to say, that will be a godsend, but it also means that I won't need to go into the office, so I will get the privilege of working from home for at least 3 weeks. That's one plus side. The not so good plus side. So like I say, unfortunately I got struck down with a kidney infection, which, yeah, it was not a pleasant experience, and for at least a week I was quite bad. As I suggested earlier in the video, I had a reaction to an antibiotic, which, had I known that was the antibiotic that I was taking, I would never have took it because I already knew that I was allergic to it. But the name that I'm allergic to and the name on the packet were completely different. But they still gave it to me. And needless to say that I'm sitting there thinking the kidney infection was getting worse. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. In actual fact, most of what I was feeling, although I still had the kidney infection, it was still that unpleasant experience. What I was going through was actually an adverse reaction to the antibiotics. So needless to say, we stopped those promptly, switched to another antibiotic, which they already said to me was like a last resort because I'm allergic to penicillin. So they would have preferred to have given me a penicillin-based antibiotic, but I can't have penicillin. So they gave me an alternative antibiotic, of which, would you believe it, it's one of the ones that either causes tendon ruptures or tendinitis. And I was like, what's your chances? I was like, that's very unlikely. Yeah, stupid Teresa. I've actually ended up with tendinitis from the tablets. And when it first started coming on, and all my joints, like my big joints, so like my elbows and my knees, were really, really painful. The tendons were really, really painful. I was under the impression that as soon as you stop taking the antibiotics, all that goes away. That's not the case because it gives you tendinitis. So now I've got basically about a 4 to 6 weeks of, you know, being very gentle with myself, because I have actually given myself tendinitis by taking the medication. I had no idea. Who would have thought? But hey, it's not as bad as it was. It's definitely, like, in the last week, it's definitely settled itself down. It's still not so much with my knees. My knees hurt quite a lot, but not to the extent that it feels like my kneecaps are trying to pop off. But because I became ill with a kidney infection, we had actually booked Bonbons in for her leg surgery, and she was supposed to have gone in. She says, when was she supposed to have gone in? On the 8th of July. like I say, I got sick and I was like, well, I can't look after Bonnie when she comes home if I've got a raging kidney infection. So we postponed Bonbons, but Bonnie is now going in for surgery this coming Thursday. So Thursday, the 3rd of August. Now, what we didn't realise was we was under the impression much earlier on in the year that Bonbons had something called a laxating patella, which basically means that her kneecap pops out and then pops back in, which is a fairly easy fix. However, we didn't realise, and neither did the vets, at what stage it had progressed to. So they stage it. And we was under the impression that we had until the end of the, towards the end of the year before we'd need to actually go ahead with the surgery. Because that way it's like, well, it's cold weather, the back doors are closed, we won't need to, it won't be quite so difficult sort of having all the doors open and trying to confine the dogs and whatever. As it's worked out, it's turned into something that's a little bit more than that. So she's at a stage 4, which basically means her kneecap is permanently out, which is why she's hobbling so badly. But what they've said is that given now that she's got such bad atrophy in the leg, which basically means the leg isn't working properly, if we don't do it in the next month or so, the problem is she may never be able to use her leg properly ever again. So it's like, well, we've not got a choice. It's took the option out of our hands of when to do it. So we now have to go ahead and get it done on the 3rd of August. Also, what they have said is that there's a possibility that Bonbon's leg, because it's been going on since birth, there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to need to break her leg. I know. I was like, you're going to do what? I was like, I thought it was just her kneecap. Now they're talking about breaking the leg, moving the alignment of the leg, pin the leg with pins, then make a new groove in for the kneecap to sit in, and then tighten all the bits and pieces up. So needless to say, what initially we thought was going to be a not quite so drastic surgery is actually turned into a much bigger surgery for such a small little thing, and the fact that she's as little as she is. And they have said, obviously, the risk is because she's such a little dog, she's got tiny, tiny little bones. So we need to be super, super careful with her. Because of that, and even with the surgery in general, so we need to sort of isolate Bonbons from Honey for about 6 weeks, because Bonbons has to be crate housed now for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I'm like, oh, my poor little dog. I was like, after having all the freedom that she has, and now it's like 6 weeks of being stuck in a little tiny crate. As well as she is not allowed to climb any stairs, which going up the stairs up into the next floor, I get that because there's a lot of stairs. But when I said, well, yeah, but we've got a deck. So there's 2 steps down off the deck. I said for her to go to the toilet. I said, is she okay to? And I don't know. No, she's not. You need to carry her. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, why have we not got just a door that you go out flat and they can just walk out? Because when she starts to get to the point that she's a little bit better, we are still going to have to basically pick her up, carry her out there on a lead, keep her on a lead to do her business, and then pick her up to bring her back indoors again. Yeah, needless to say, it's going to be tough. I decided that yes, they are housed in crates, but I wanted to have a little bit. I mean, when I spoke to the vets, they said most of the time in the very first week or so, she's not going to want to move around very much anyway, so the crate is fine. The problem is when she starts to feel that she's feeling a bit better and it's not quite so sore or painful, she's going to want to get up and do the things. And bearing in mind that they're not puppies anymore, but they sort of are. I mean, they're only just over a year old, so they're full of bounce and full of energy. And Bonbon's more so than Honey. She's like a little Zebedee. She just bounces up and down, even with a bad leg. So I was like, well, I don't want to put her in a crate where she can only go round in a little circle, because that's cruel. So I decided that, at first I was thinking, well, I could get the pen out that we had when the girls were babies. But that it's not versatile enough to either drag it around. And if I need to move Bonnie while she's in it without disturbing her or picking her up and upsetting her little leg, I wanted something that I could drag with her in it so that she could just stay where she is and I can just drag it through. So I went and purchased this pop-up. It's a pop-up play pen, but I'll put a picture in because you have to see this. There's enough room to put a flat bed in so that she hasn't got to climb onto a bed. There's enough room for a flat bed and to have a few toys in there. It's got a top on it so she can't bounce up and down even if she wants to. I mean, well, she could try, but she wouldn't. It's unlikely that she's going to try it if it's got a cover on the top. I think if it was open, like the actual playpen that we had, when she's feeling a bit more lively and a bit more like herself, she probably would try to bounce up and down. So the fact that we've got something with the top on it, but even though it's bigger than a crate, but it's not as big as the pen, there's enough room in there that she can quite happily either lay down or get up, have a little walk around in there and play with her little toys. Also, the other added issue was the honey issue. When you've got two dogs that are the same age and they're literally just over a year old, you've got one that's bounding around like a lunatic and one entices the other. The other problem that we was thinking is, you know, we're in an open plan house. I can't keep Honey in one half of the house and keep Bonbons in the other half of the house. And the vets did say that they wanted Bonnie to be sort of contained so that she couldn't go on the leg very much, especially in the first 6 weeks. Yes, she's allowed to sort of move it around to sort of keep it moving, but they don't want her having like a whole big room to walk around in. So I thought, well, this way the girls can still be in and around each other. They can still see each other, but they can't, you know, Honey can't instigate anything with Bonnie. Bonnie can't instigate anything with Honey. And God forbid, because they are quite energetic, the thought of Honey sort of bounding into Bonnie is just frightening. So I was just like, no, we'll keep them separate, but in the same room. So Bonbons will stay in the little round circle thing. Honey will have the run of the room. And then what I'll do is, as and when Bonbon starts to get a little bit better and she's able to come out and at least come on the sofa and have a cuddle with Mummy, I can put a lead and collar on her so that she can't try and jump off. And I can sit her next to me, and I'm still in a position that I can keep Honey away from her, so that they can kiss each other and they can lick each other, but they can't, you know, Honey can't come and sort of jump all over Bonnie and try and keep her away from her leg. But when she's not physically sat with me, I need to make sure that the girls are separated so that they can see each other, but there is no way that Honey could accidentally bump into Bonnie or land on her or excite her so that Bonbon starts trying to run. I can't have any of that. So they're going to be very separated and they're not going to like it. Bonnie's going to hate being in that little thing because she's the one that's the little cuddle bum. Honey relies very heavily on Bonnie to play with because Honey's just like an Energizer bunny and wants to play all the time. So needless to say, with the fact that Bonnie can't even go outside for a wee on her own, we would have to be with her and to carry her. I think my time is going to be really took up with the whole keeping them both happy, yet keeping them separate and all that goes with it. The worry, the having to pick Bonnie up and take her places, and then obviously knowing that because Bonnie hasn't got free reign of the house and can just come to me, I'm going to need to make a special effort of making sure that I can have Bonnie sat on the chair with me, but I can't stitch and do that because I'll need to make sure that Honey can't come anywhere near Bonnie whilst she's on the sofa with me having a cuddle. So that's going to make it so that August, although I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'll get, you know, plenty of stitching done in August, not working in London and working from home and sort of like being homebound because of Bonnie. Although I am homebound, it's going to be harder because Honey needs more entertaining and Bonbons will need more care. So, and I have a sneaky suspicion there's going to be some rather sleepless nights in the first week. I think it's going to be a little tough. So there is that in life that's going on. I am very nervous about taking her in for that surgery. So yeah, so it's going to be a tense. And the worst bit about it is she goes in on the 3rd of August. So I'm going to be worried. I'm going to be upset because I know what's coming. And then on the 4th of August is my wedding anniversary. So it didn't dawn on me until, I don't know, 3 days ago that it was our wedding anniversary. In fact, Darren reminded me it was our wedding anniversary. And I was like, well, we won't be going out for dinner. I was like, it will be a staying at home night with the takeaway. I said, because there's no way I'm leaving Bonnie not on her first night back, because she goes in on the 3rd and she's supposed to come out on the 4th. So I'm not going anywhere, and I have no intentions of going anywhere, at least for the first 2 weeks anyway, because they're the most critical weeks. So there's that. That's all fun and games. What else to tell you? Mum is living her best life right now. So for those of you that always ask how mum's getting on, mum is, excuse the expression, but she's like a pig in shit right now. Mum is loving life because the FA Women's World Cup 2023 is currently on, and yeah, we can't even get her out of the house. She's just, yeah, I think there's like 3 matches a day or something like that. So my mum is just like, you know, if there's a match at 2:00 in the morning, she's getting up at 2:00 in the morning to watch the match. So yeah, mum is living her best life, and she thoroughly enjoys women's football in general. So she loves the FA Cup, she loves the Women's League. Yeah, so at the moment we cannot get her away from the TV, and yeah, every time you go down there, she's got a list of who's going to play and her best, you know, what the teams are made up of, and yeah, she loves a good list. So needless to say, mummy is super tucked up indoors, just living her very happy life, just watching her football. As far as plans on what I'm going to stitch, I think that's very dependent on how Bonnie is. If Bonnie is particularly bad, then I think my Leela Studio jumpers are going to be a good choice, and my Christmas crackers might be a good choice. But my likelihoods of pulling out any bigger projects than that and actually getting some serious stitching in are probably really quite slim and limited. On a health note for me, one of the other reasons that I think things have been a little rough when it comes to doing videos, to do stitching and doing the lives is, you know, the health issues that I've had currently are just, they're endless. They are endless, people. And although there are some people that say, well, you know, because of a lady of a certain age, that can be a cause. And I'm like, well, that doesn't explain why this was happening not so long ago, but before I was in the menopause. The fact that this seems to be like a continuous barrage of, you know, if it's not one problem, it's another problem. So although I went and saw a urologist that's now put me on 3 months of antibiotics continually, I'm not sure how I feel about that. One, because 3 months of antibiotics, that's going to not help my tummy issues at all, because it's going to mess the balance of my tummy flora, because it's antibiotics. It strips the gut of good and bad bugs. As well as that, I'm not a great lover of taking antibiotics, not continually. But in all fairness, in the last year, 18 months, I have took way more antibiotics than anybody should, because I've had one thing after another. So I've spoken with my doctor, and we've decided I'm going to go to a rheumatologist and go and get some testing done, because it's like it can't be coincidence that there's been all these things that have gone wrong. I'm not saying that there is something underlying, but if there is, I would like to know that I've caught it, rather than just ignoring it and making an assumption that none of this is connected and I'm just very, very unlucky. I know that does happen for some people, but I just find it hard to believe. And you know, I worry how I'm still employed. I do not know, because I don't know anyone that has had as many sicknesses or illnesses as me that hasn't made it into work. Admittedly, I don't necessarily take days off, so even when I'm feeling dreadful, I've still worked from home. And maybe that's why. But had I had a job where there wasn't an option to work from home, I wouldn't be employed now, because I would have had to take so many days off sick. And this is what I was sort of saying to my doctor. I was like, I can't keep saying, oh, well, they're not connected in some way, because in any other job, I would have lost my job by now because of the amount of sick leave that I would have needed. So therefore, I think I need to look at it. It needs to be addressed, and we need to find a fix for it, for whatever it is, because it can't happen anymore. So I'm going off to see a rheumatologist, I think on the 7th of August, in the hope that they can at least give me ideas, or give me an idea of what is going on, and whether there's anything that they can do to help me. So there is that. So because I've been sick yet again, I am still running on reserve. I don't feel like my usual bouncy, happy self. Life and everything else that goes on top of it is just adding to it. but that is what it is. I mean, you know, I'm thankful to be here, and I'm thankful for the health that I do have, but I'm not as healthy as I would like to be, let's say. And it is having an impact on my work life and my personal life and my floss tube life. So yeah, when it's affecting all three things like that, then I think it needs to be addressed. So we are addressing it. So there you go, people. That is the life update. There's nothing else for me to share with you other than I'm going to have to see how August goes. You may see me. I may be able to get some Stitch With Me videos loaded. Like I say, I might get the odd live streaming if I'm a lucky girl. But if not, and if none of that happens, then you will see me at the end of August. And I can share with you what's happened, and what stitching I actually managed to get done in August. So thank you so much. And for those of you that hasn't subscribed yet and you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the little subscribe button, give me a little thumbs up, and let me know you like it. And until next time, people, thank you as always for all the lovely support and for all the lovely messages and the comments. I do appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have a wonderful August, and if I don't see you before, I will see you at the end and we can catch up on what fun we've been having. So until next time, people, bye bye for now.